Hey there, I'm a fellow barbecue enthusiast, Mike Baker here, Baker's Barbecue. Hey, today we got the Masterbuilt digital electric smoker, 40-inch. We're going to be firing it up. We're going to be using the new Masterbuilt slow smoker attachment, which is supposed to get anywhere between 4 and 6 hours of smoke without having to refill the hopper with wood chips. And we're going to be putting in a Boston butt. We're going to cook it all night long. It's going to be an all-night cook. What I'm going to do is I'm going to cook it the whole time unwrapped. And I'm just going to cook it at 225 degrees, maximizing smoke input at a real low temperature over a long period of time. The reason I want to do this is barbecue is always better. The lower you can smoke it, the longer you can smoke it, and the longer you can smoke it unwrapped. It just gives it a more authentic, good flavor barbecue, a good smoky flavor. The fat renders down good. It's got a great texture with a good bark. And so that's the reason I want to do this. I want to see how it works out, which is one of the reasons why I was so excited about getting the slow smoker attachment to begin with. So we'll see how this works out, and hopefully it'll work out the way I'm hoping. So be sure and fire up your electric smokers. Cook right along with me. Let's get to smoking. All right, so we have our wood hopper here. So I'll get that slide off there. Take the bottom of it off. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna actually turn it upside down. It's gonna be easier to load by turning it upside down, exposing the bigger end of it. And I'm just going to pour the wood chips down inside. Just like that right there. Get them all poured down in there until you see it reaching the bottom of it. Kind of pack them back in there. Put the bottom back on it. And now I'm just going to flip it over. Just like that right there. And I'll go ahead and pack back in whatever fell out. Top it off with a couple more to make sure the top is fully filled out to the top. And we're good to go. Put this little cap top back on it. I'm gonna take it back over here and I'm gonna stick it back in the smoker. Gonna set it back down in there. Shut the lid back and it's ready to start smoking. All we gotta do is just get it turned on. Got the slow smoker attachment hooked up right there. We'll take you around behind. I'm gonna show you how to do the plugs, because now, like I said, you got two plugs. You got a plug for the actual smoker, and you're gonna have a separate plug for the slow smoker. All right, so as I had talked about when I did the video profiling the slow smoker, you got two cords now. You're gonna have a cord for the slow smoker, and you're gonna have a cord for the actual smoker itself. What I did was I went and picked up this heavy duty adapter right here. It is heavy duty, made for outdoor use, water resistant, and it worked out perfect right there. This particular one is a Power Zone triple tap adapter, heavy duty, made to be used with tools and this type of devices. So that's how it looks, all hooked up there, and we're gonna see how it works out tonight. All right, we're gonna get this Boston butt prep, ready to get on the smoker. It's about a 9.5 pound butt. I'm gonna do a simple prep. All I'm gonna do is score the fat cap. I'm gonna put a little bit of mustard on it, put some seasoning on it. I'm gonna be putting on Baker's Barbecue Champions Blend. Hopefully you can see that, really good stuff. And so first I'm gonna be cooking fat side up. And the reason I'm doing that, we're going low and slow for a long period of time. The fat will render, kind of just make its way over the meat, and help to keep the meat moist and juicy. So because of that, I'm going to start off on the lean side, put a little bit of mustard on it. There's really nothing to trim, so I'm not going to do any trimming. Start off by getting my edges. It's always a little bit tricky. Things are kind of hard to grab a hold of. Go heavy on it. Boston butt can handle a lot. Let it down, put a good heavy coat in, top side. And we're doing this about an hour before we put it on the smoker. And what I'm gonna do is let it sit here and sweat out. And then we'll put it on about an hour. When I say sweat out, it means let the moisture of the meat kind of coagulate a little bit with the rub, and it'll help create a good bark. So I'm just going to score the fat cap. I like to take it down to the meat. That way when I put the seasoning in there, when I put the seasoning on it, it helps get the seasoning down to the meat on the fat cap side. And this is going to render down. What don't render down, we will, during the process of pulling it, chopping it, we'll get rid of any excess fat. Come back with a good heavy layer of your barbecue rub. I like to pull that fat cap open where I slice through it, get as much down in there as I can. That's all there is to it. So we're gonna let it sit here, like I said, for about an hour. We're gonna let it sweat in, and then we're gonna get it out there. We're gonna get on the smoker. We're gonna do our all-night smoke in the Masterbuilt electric smoker with a slow smoker attachment. All right, so it's about 9:30 at night, and I'm gonna get the Boston butt put on. Hey, I apologize for the audio not being as clear as normal. I got a new cell phone, and my little voice mic won't hook up to it, so I'm going to work without it. So anyway, about 9:30 at night, let's get this Boston butt put in the electric smoker. Now I'm not going to turn the actual slow smoker on until I get the Boston butt put in there. The reason for that is I want to preserve as much smoke as I can, and then also I don't want to be opening up the smoker and just get hit with a big plume of smoke. Good. So we got her up in there. I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to kick on my slow smoker. And I'm going to also go ahead. I'm going to open the vent wide open on my smoker. The reason being is that way it'll suck the smoke through there. I have noticed, I just did a little test run a couple days ago on this, and the actual vent needs to be open in order for it to suck the smoke up through the smoker. And by doing that, it actually gives a pretty good convection of the smoke going around the smoker, kind of like maybe what a side or an offset would do. Not exactly as good as an offset, but kind of what an offset would do. All right, so I got the smoker set, got it all going, brought it up to temp before I ever got this butt put in there. I've got the slow smoker coming up now. It's going to start getting the wood chips smoking, and I got the vent open, and we're going to let this thing do its thing. Here in just a second, I'll show you how the smoke is doing. One thing I forgot to do is put my thermometer in. I'm using my Inkbird tonight. I've got a video on this Inkbird thermometer setup. I recommend you go check it out. It's a phenomenal setup. Go check it out. So I'm going to open it back up real quick. As you can see, there's going to be a lot of smoke come out. So it's already produced a lot of smoke, and that's only been after about a minute. I'm gonna bring you in a little bit closer and show it to you. See all the smoke coming out of there? That's after about a minute. Actually, I'd say probably 2 or 3 minutes of it being started. I actually walked inside. But look at all the smoke coming out of that. Phenomenal. Here we are the next morning, about 6:30. Of course, the smoke had stopped. The tube was empty, so I went ahead and emptied it out, and I went ahead and filled it back up again. And so it's looking good. I can smell it. The temperature has come up to 153 internal. And so it's been on 8.5 hours, something like that, 9 hours. I had to go back and do the math, but somewhere in that range. All right, so we'll be back here a little while later. We're gonna check on it, let it keep on rolling. All right, so we're about 16 hours into this smoke. I've been smoking it at 225. And my internal temperature right now is 100, that's backwards. Anyway, 167 degrees. So, I mean, it's really going slow. So what I think I'm gonna have to do is I'm gonna go ahead and kick the temperature on up. But before we do, we'll kick it up because it is about almost 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And I wanna be able to get it done in time to let it rest on the counter for a little while and then pull it. So we're gonna take a quick look at it though before I kick the temp up. Oh yeah, check that out. Now tell me, that don't look good right there. That is a butt unwrapped, 16.5 hours in on a Masterbuilt electric smoker. All right, we're gonna shut it down. I'm gonna bump the temp on up, I think to probably 250, 255, and I may even have to kick it up a little bit higher. I'm gonna see if the temperature internally starts coming up after I do that. But right now, approximately 16.5 hours in, I think I said a while ago, if I'm doing the math right, I'm going to go ahead and kick the temp on up to the higher temp just to get it done. I'm going to leave it unwrapped. I'm not going to wrap it. And I'm not putting any more smoke to it. I filled up the little slow smoker one more time. So it's had 2 rounds of that. It looks like it's getting about, they say 6 hours worth of smoke each time, but it's really more in about that 3-hour range. And I'll do a separate video on that at some point too. But all right, I'm going to kick the temp up real quick, and we're going to let it keep on going. Get my temp button there. I think I'm going to go ahead and kick it up here at 255. Got to sit there at my temp button again, and it's off and running. All right, so we're going to let it kick along there about 255, and if it's not making any movement, then I may kick it to 260, 265. We'll see. Like I said, my plan was to go 225 all the way through, but it looks like it'd take about 24 hours to do that. So anyway, we'll be back here shortly. Take a look at that. Believe it or not, this is after like 22 hours of slow smoking. I can tell you right now, it's going to be tasty. We're fixing to pull into it. We're going to check it out. All right, to my fellow barbecue enthusiasts, we finally got the butt done. Believe it or not, this took almost 22 hours to smoke. Now, I started off smoking at 225 because my whole goal here is I wanted to see how the slow smoker with the Masterbuilt electric smoker would do. Doing a long, slow smoke, unwrapped the whole time. I want to see how the bark would look. I want to see how it would turn out. And I got to say, just by looking at it, as I showed you just a second ago in the video, it looks good. So we're going to tear into it here in just a second, and we're going to see how it actually how it actually looks and how it actually tastes. I will say, 225, it took a lot longer than what I've ever expected. In the future, if I do this, I will probably bump the temperature to about 235. But here's how I had to do it. I had it at 225, put it on 9:30 p.m., and about 1 o'clock in the afternoon the next day, it was still had an internal temperature of about 156. So I actually kicked the heat up, the actual temperature of the smoker up to about 250, let it go for a couple hours, and I realized, hey, in order for me to get this done in a reasonable time, I'm going to kick the temperature up. So I actually kicked it to 275 to let it finish out. It does look good, juicy looking. I think it's going to be great. So I'm going to bring you in here. I'm going to go ahead and pull it apart. Let you see me pull it apart. And we're going to taste a little bit of it, and we're going to see how we did. Bone just slides right out. Man, it's got a great bark to it. Just pull right in there to it. Oh yeah, it's looking good. I mean, that joker just falling apart. Now look at that. Juicy. Look at that right there. I'm gonna grab my cleaver here. Go ahead and start chopping. That is a lot of pork. I like to chop up because we got some really good bark on this. That bark is going to really do a good job to the overall pork. Add a lot of flavor. All right, I'm going to start transferring this over. I'm going to add this little bit of rub to it. And I'm going to mix that in real good. You don't want that sitting around the top. All right, I'm going to move this over here and put it all in my tin. I will say this has a total different texture when you cook it unwrapped like that. Total different texture than if it does if you cook it wrapped. It has more of an authentic barbecue texture to it. A good bark, which is what you want in there. There you go. Check that out. All right, man, I'm telling you, it looks delicious. Going unwrapped, you know, especially the electric smoker, you want to get a good bark on it. That's the way to do it. So let's try a good bite here. Give me a little bit of bark. Look at that. Good bark. Oh, that's ridiculous. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Hopefully you get the slow smoker attachment kind of play around with it yourself, do long cooks like this. And if you enjoyed the video, if you would, go ahead and hit that like button. Make sure you hit that subscribe button if you're new to the channel. If you're not new to the channel, thank you for coming back. Hey, until the next time I see you, happy smoking.